Namaste and a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. I'm really very happy to be in the midst of so many jnanis, ardent seekers who have prioritized self-inquiry in your lives. So it's a great inspiration. Thank you for joining us in this Jnana Yajna. So as Vasu said, today's topic is, what is the greatest miracle? So I would also like to share a presentation with all of you. Let me begin sharing. As you know, this is based on 2 slokas of Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi's Satdarshanam, or 40 verses on reality. I think all of you are able to see the presentation now. So it is based on Ramana Maharshi's Satdarshanam. Sat means the truth. Sat also means existence. Sat also means that which has no birth, no death, no change, that which is eternal and infinite. So at the very outset, as we are going to explore the 35th and 36th slokas, Satdarshanam has 40 slokas plus 2 introductory shlokas, as we know. So today's session is based on the 35th and 36th shlokas. I would like to offer my pranams to the source of my inspiration. I request all of you to join me in chanting Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Asatoma Satgamaya together. We offer our prostrations to Sri Ramana Maharshi, who is the originator, the composer of today's composition, the fount of eternal wisdom, to Sri Narasimha Prabhuji, the founder of Light of the Self, who is guiding me on the path of Atma Vichara, to Sri Adi Shankaracharya, who has given us such a great legacy on Advaita Vedanta. So to all of them, I offer my pranams. Let us chant together. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Asato Ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our pranams to Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharshi and all the divine masters of wisdom who illumine our paths. May their grace and blessings always be with us and establish us in the self. So, as always, it's customary to understand the context in which we are going to study the 2 shlokas of today. So, in order to get our context right, we are going to look at the previous 2 shlokas So the summary of the shlokas 33 and 34 of Satdarshanam, which come before the shlokas we are studying today, are like this. So Bhagavan says, I don't know myself and I know myself. These two statements are equally ridiculous. Does anyone, anywhere, have two selves so that the self can become an object of knowledge to himself? Know from the common experience of all men alike that the real self is only one. So, what do we say if somebody has multiple personalities? There is a disorder, right? Where too much of dopamine is produced or some other neurochemical is produced. So we have read the story of Jekyll and Mr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Sometimes we hear that one person can have even 5 or 6 personalities inside. So what do we say for this? We call it multiple personality disorder. So Bhagavan is asking us, I know myself means there should be some other entity to know what I call myself, which means I am both the seer and the seen. Of course, from the highest point of the world and Ishvara are not different. That is another way, another level to go to. But at the level of the jiva, can I say I know myself? That means I am different from myself. I can't have two selves. I don't know myself. That means again there is somebody not to know myself. So Bhagavan is saying it is ridiculous. In deep sleep, when you were in deep sleep, how many of you were there? Were there two? One the seer and one the seen? Of course not. In deep sleep, all of us know there is only one unified mass of consciousness. There is no other, there are no boundaries. There are no limitations, right? So Bhagavan is saying, this is the common knowledge of all men. It is the common experience of all human beings alike. In deep sleep, there is no other. Therefore, the real self is only one. There may be apparent plurality. So many forms may be there in the waking world. But the substratum of all these forms is only one self, awareness. So in the shloka 34, Bhagavan has said, man overcome by illusion, not having attained his own natural state, by realizing the truth through the quest. What is the quest? The quest is Atma Vichara, asking, what is my true nature? Who am I? So, someone who has not found this, who has not recognized his true nature, because he is still overcome by illusion, and he is not at present abiding as the self, which is ever shining in the heart of all beings as the real self. So there are scholars, right? So scholars of Vedanta, they may be discussing, they are talking to each other. We have different schools of Vedanta. So they may be discussing and saying, there is something real called the self. And somebody else will say, no, there isn't. Everything is temporary. Look at the world. Look at this body. Everybody dies. We don't know what happens after death. In the world, everything is constantly changing. So there is nothing real. Real means something that doesn't change in this context. So one philosopher is saying, there is something that is unchanging. Another is saying, no, everything changes. One philosopher says, the self has form, Brahman has form, the supreme reality has a form. Another philosopher says, absolute nonsense. Of course, Brahman does not have a form. So if one person says the self is one, there is no other, another philosopher says the self has two parts, and a third one may say it is neither one nor two. So these are all abstruse arguments going on, and each one of the philosophers can justify what he or she is saying. Bhagavan says, look at the irony of that. Even while all this is going on, the one self is shining in the heart of everybody all the time, even those who are disputing. So this is what we have, Bhagavan has said in the 33rd and 34th slokas. So I would like to begin with an anecdote. Bhagavan's conversation with one of his disciples, which I will later connect up to the slokas that we are studying today. Okay. So the disciple I'm talking about is Swami Madhava Tirtha. We see his photo here. And then, of course, we see Bhagwan's photo also. So Swami Madhava Tirtha was a great scholar. And from a very young age, he was greatly interested in philosophy. And he had one burning question, which he would ask any Sadguru, any Mahatma, any scholar whom he met. He would ask, what happens after death? Death was a great mystery for him. But he didn't get a satisfactory answer from anyone. So he made a thorough study of Vedanta, all the Upanishads, the Darshanas, and then he took up sannyasa because he wanted to devote himself to this quest. He wrote actually not one, not two, he wrote 100 books. He wrote 100 books and still he felt unfulfilled. He felt that spiritually he had not found the right master, he had not received the right teaching, so he had not become enlightened, in his words. So somebody told him, why don't you go to Ramana Maharshi? He went to various masters and then finally he heard about Ramana Maharshi. So he came to Tiruvannamalai. The strange thing is he stayed there for just 2 weeks. And in the 2 weeks, he didn't waste a single minute. His mind was like a receptacle that was just waiting to gather the grace of the Sadguru. So he sat there, whatever Bhagavan said, not just to him, but to the various different devotees who came, with each one of them, the conversations that Bhagavan had, he noted down meticulously in his book, and later that was also published. So he's waiting there, and then Bhagavan told somebody, just be still, Chummair. The aim is to give up all practices. He was telling a certain devotee. When your mind becomes still, the power of self can be experienced. After all, who else is there other than the self? There is only the self, Bhagavan said. So immediately Swami Madhav Tirtha had a question. So he asked Bhagavan, Bhagavan, you are saying that there is no duality. You say that the self is one, there is nothing other than the self. then there is no meaning to the word surrender, Bhagavan. Then what is surrender? But surrender is so powerful. Devotion is so powerful. If I surrender to God, then isn't that the ultimate thing that I can do? But you say that there is no other. You say who surrenders to whom? I find it very hard to accept. This is what Madhav Tirtha said to Bhagavan. So Ramana said, yes, it may be hard to accept. Let me tell you a small story Bhagavan told Madhav Tirtha. So he said, in South India, there is this ancient custom that before anybody eats, before they take their food, they do a puja to God, and then whatever has been cooked or something, one fruit, something that they have, they offer to the deity as Naivedyam, and then after that alone they eat. So there was one person who was very deeply in this tradition. So he was traveling, and while he was traveling, he was carrying some provisions with him. He had some jaggery, and then he had some flour. So he thought wherever he goes, he will use this, he will cook for himself, he'll make something and he eats. So he set out on his travels, and on the way, he's gone quite a bit of distance, and it is lunchtime. He has stopped for lunch when he realizes he has forgotten to bring his small deity. He was a worshipper of Ganeshas. He didn't have that small Ganesha idol which he carried with him. He's left it behind. So he thought, never mind. Anyway, this jaggery that I'm carrying with me, it has become very hygroscopic. It's become like a molten mass. It's become very malleable, like clay. So let me make an idol of Ganesha with that. Then I will worship that. I will offer something to that Ganesha. Then I will eat. So he made quite a nice Ganesha out of that jaggery. Artistically, he made it, and it was already small. This small Ganesha is ready there. And then he thinks, what to offer Ganesha now? I forgot about that. I don't have any offering. I have this raw flour, some uncooked raw flour. How can I offer to the deity? So what to offer? Then he thought, it's okay. Let me take a small bit of jaggery from this deity, and then I will offer it to the deity as Naivedya. So he pinched off a little bit of jaggery from the deity. Now the deity was a little spoiled because he's pinched off something from there. So he takes that jaggery, makes it into a ball, and he says, "Oh Ganesha, I offer this to you." So Bhagavan is laughing. He said, "See, this is what we do when we say, I surrender to you. Everything is the Lord. What else is there other than the self? Everything is the self. We take a little bit from that, think, believe that it is separate, and we offer. Is it possible to offer anything to the Supreme One, who alone is the truth, who alone exists? All divisions that we create are created by the mind, and they can be transcended when you transcend the mind. So this is what Bhagavan told Madhav Tirtha. At every moment, Bhagavan says, whether you surrender or whether you don't surrender, you are always none other than the self. In the past, you were the self. Right now, you are the self. And in the future also, you are none other than the self, because only the self exists. So this is the teaching that Bhagavan gave Swami Madhav Tirtha. After 2 weeks, Swami Madhav Tirtha was greatly inspired. He went away and he presently gathered many followers and disciples. To each one of them, he gave Bhagwan's teachings and then he said, go to Tiruvannamalai, have a darshan of my Sadguru, get his grace and blessings, and follow his path of self-inquiry. So he sent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people to Tiruvannamalai to go and have darshan of Bhagwan. So this is the inspiring story of Madhav Tirtha, told very briefly, and also a very important piece of teaching for us. Okay, so let us look at Shloka 35. What does Bhagwan say here? Let's chant it together, lead and follow style. I'll repeat it once, I'll chant it once, and we can all repeat it together again. Siddhasya vitti sat eva siddhihi, siddhasya vittihi sat eva siddhihi, swapnopamanaha khalu siddhayonyaha, swapnopamanaha khalu siddhayonyaha, swapna prabuddhasya katham nu satyaha, swapna prabuddhasya katham nu satyaha, sati sthiti kim punareti mayam, sati sthiti kim punareti mayam. So Bhagwan is saying, Siddhasya, Siddhasya, among all the siddhis, among all the miraculous powers, Vittihi, the only praiseworthy one. Eva Vittihi, the only praiseworthy one is Sata Siddhihi. Sata is to be established in the self. That is the only true miracle, that is the only true miraculous power. That is the only praiseworthy Siddhi, says Bhagavan. So the title of the talk, the secret is out right in the beginning. There is one kind where you can keep it pending till the end, and you keep everybody on tenterhooks and then you reveal it. But here Bhagavan is telling us right in the beginning. What is he saying? Among all the siddhis that you know, all the miraculous powers that you can think of, among all of them, only one is praiseworthy, only one is permanent. What is that? It is the siddhi of abiding constantly in your true nature, 24/7, effortlessly. All the other siddhis, siddhayo, siddhayaha, anyaha, all the other siddhis, truly, khalu, swapnaha upamanaha. They are alike. You can compare them to the state of dream. You can compare them to dreaming. In what way? Bhagavan says, Swapna prabuddhasya. Swapna is dream. Prabuddhasya, when you wake up from the dream, katham, what, nu satyaha, what indeed is the truth. Whatever happened in the dream, in my dream, I dreamt, okay, it's my birthday and all my friends have gathered together. They brought a huge cake for me. They're singing happy birthday. I'm cutting the cake. I've distributed the cake. I've put a big piece on my plate. I'm just going to eat it. It's my favorite kind of cake. Okay. Just going to take my first bite of the cake and then my alarm rings and I wake up. So when I wake up, whatever happened in my dream, how much of it still remains with me? How much of it is still true for the one who has woken up from the dream? Are all my friends still there? Are they singing happy birthday to me? What about the big cake? They brought me such a huge cake, my favorite flavor, my favorite kind of cake. And I was just going to take a bite of that cake. How I wish I'd eaten at least one bite of it. Before that, my alarm rang. Couldn't have waited for another minute, right? So when I wake up, what happens? Nothing that was so true for me in my dream, so vivid, absolutely real. Everything seemed real to me when it was happening in my dream. But when I woke up from the dream, how much of it is really true? So Bhagavan is saying every other kind of miracle other than self-abidance is just like this. It is of no value to you because you can compare it to a dream. When you wake up from the dream, nothing remains. So in the last line of the shloka, Bhagavan says, Sati sthitihi kim punaha eti mayam sati. Can the one who is established in this state of the self, state is sthitihi, state, always put it in quotes, in inverted commas, because it is not a state. It is your true way of being. So can one who is established permanently in this, in the self, can such a one ever slip back into illusion and believe that he is the body, mind, and intellect? Can he believe that the world is true without the substratum called the self? Can he slip back into the illusion that all other miracles are really, so important? Can he feel that way? So Bhagavan is asking. So let us see Sri Ganapati Muni's translation, of Satdarshanam, which was originally written by Bhagavan in Tamil. So the Sanskrit shloka we chanted was by Ganapati Muni. This is the translation of what we just chanted. Self-abidance alone is a miracle. Other miracles are like dreams which last till we wake up. Can those firmly rooted in the real relapse into illusion? So what does Sri Lakshman Sharma, who also parallelly composed another translation of Satdarshanam, which is said to be extremely close to the original, because at every stage Sri Lakshman Sharma showed it to Bhagwan. Even the smallest nuance, he wanted it not to be missed out. He revised. It was a long tapasya for him. It took several years till he felt he has got it perfectly. His version of the Sanskrit translation is not very conducive to chanting. So we have not taken it for chanting. But what does the translation say? Let's see that. So Sri Lakshman Sharma says, to be the real self in the heart by winning the actual experience of that self, which is already won, is the real attainment or siddhi. All other attainments or siddhis are like those won in a dream. Does anything gained in a dream remain true upon waking? Would the sage who has cast off falsehood by dwelling in the real ever again be deluded by these? So Lakshman Sharma is reminding us, you're already the self. You have not recognized it. That's all. Even now you're already the self, but when you recognize it, then you get established in the self. That means your awareness of your true nature does not slip away, is not ignored by you like you are doing right now. So this is the greatest siddhi. That is what he's reminding. And the rest is what we have looked at already. So what does Bhagavad Gita say about this? So in the 6th chapter, in the 22nd shloka, Sri Krishna says, Sukham atyantikam yat yat buddhi grahyam atindriyam vetti yatra na chaivayam stitaschalati tattvataha. So Sukham atyantikam, limitless bliss. Sukham is bliss. Atyantikam, limitless. So Sri Krishna is saying, one experiences limitless bliss, which can be intuited by the intellect. Buddhi grahyam. It can be intuited by the intuitively understood by the intellect. But it is atindriyam. The senses can never experience this bliss, says Krishna. Being established in this bliss, which is the self, this person surely does not swerve from reality. Titish na chalati. He will never swerve from reality. So anything else has no more importance for him. So one of the common examples that are given are, there is an ant living on a sugar mountain. So all the time the sugar is there. So for such an ant, if you say, come, I'll give you jalebi, I'll give you jangir, I'll give you Mysore pak. Like us, the ant doesn't relish all the flavors and tastes, and Mysore pak has a different flavor, jamun has a different flavor, different texture. No. What does the ant enjoy actually? Ant enjoys the essence of any sweet that you offer, that is sugar. The sweetness is what the ant enjoys. The ant is already part of a sugar mountain, already living in the sugar mountain. So if you keep trying to tempt the ant with many other kinds of sweets, the ant is no longer interested. He has unlimited sugar available all the time. Here at least we have the duality. There is the ant and there is the sugar mountain. But in our case, we are the self. It is not even that the sugar mountain is separate from me. Bliss is separate from me. No. I am limitless bliss. So for somebody who is always aware that I am limitless bliss, can any kind of siddhi, can it tempt such a person? What are the different kinds of siddhis? That also we will look at in a couple of minutes. Okay. So in the 21st shloka, that's what Sri Krishna says. In the 22nd shloka, Sri Krishna continues, Yam labdhva cha param labham manyate nadhikam tataha yasmin sthito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. So yam labdhva, having gained that state again, remember in inverted commas, having recognized one's own true nature, one doesn't consider any other attainment to be greater than this. There can be nothing that is greater than this, because it is the highest bliss. Any attainment we want to make us happy, right? I want to buy a new dress because it makes me happy. I want to eat nice things. It makes me happy. I want to go out and spend time with my friends because it makes me happy. So anything that we do or any attainment we aim at, like a promotion or an award, whatever it may be, it is in order to get greater joy, greater happiness. But when I myself am the ultimate, limitless, supreme bliss, then can any attainment have significance? Can it be greater than that? So Krishna says, being thus established as limitless bliss, one is not shaken even in the midst of the greatest calamity, dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. Gurunapi, the heaviest, the greatest dukkha, even that does not have the ability to even cause a small ripple in that limitless bliss. It is only a calamity for the unenlightened, for the ajnani. For the jnani, there is nothing called calamity. So, this is what the Bhagavad Gita is saying. Now, what are the 8 siddhis? We keep saying Ashta Siddhi, Ashta Siddhi. So, I was curious, what exactly are these Ashta Siddhis? Since we are looking at a shloka where Bhagavan is saying other siddhis are not important, where the Bhagavad Gita is saying other siddhis are not important, then what are these other siddhis? So, one is anima. Anima means having the power to become very, very small as even an atom. So, in the Puranas, in the Ramayana, we read about Hanuman becoming very small, and then he goes around in Ravana's palace everywhere, exploring. Who is Ravana? What is his palace like? Who are all the people close to him? So he does by exercising the Anima Siddhi. Then the Mahima Siddhi. You grow and grow and grow, and you can become as big as you like. You can assume cosmic proportions. So again, Hanuman, we see when he leapt across the ocean to go to Lanka, he assumed a gigantic form. When he brought the mountain to save Lakshmana, when Lakshmana was unconscious, to bring the herb to Lakshmana, he could not identify that particular herb. So he lifted up, uprooted that entire mountain, carried it in one hand. So he became much larger than the mountain. He carried it and he brought it to the battlefield. Right? So that is Mahima Siddhi. Garima Siddhi. There is one story where we read, in order to teach Arjuna a lesson, Hanuman is sitting and he has put his tail across the path. And when Bhima comes, Bhima asks Hanuman, hey, lift your tail, hey, monkey. So Hanuman says, I'm too old, my brother. Why don't you lift it? Please move it. And then Bhima tries to kick it. And then he tries to lift it. It is so heavy, he is not able to move it even a fraction of an inch. So that is the Garima Siddhi, becoming very, very heavy. Laghima is the opposite of Garima. Become light and light and light and as light as a feather. So that is how you can levitate, you can fly. We hear about yogis levitating. That is the Laghima Siddhi. We read about Hanuman flying to Lanka. That is also Laghima Siddhi. Then Prapti. Prapti Siddhi is you are able to get the things that you want. You can make it available to yourself, whatever you want. Then Prakamya. Prakamya Siddhi is when you're able to elongate your life. It has several dimensions. One of them is to elongate your life. You can go underwater. We have heard about yogis who lived underwater without breathing 6 months. Trailanga Swami, we read about him, who lived about 150, 200 years ago in Kashi. So he would live 6 months underwater on the Ganges, and 6 months he would be floating on the water of Ganges. So prakamya is being able to live underwater, to be able to be alive without breathing, to elongate your life, going on elongating it to thousands of years. So all that is prakamya. Then ishitva. Ishitva is literally whatever Ishvara can do. Ishvara who creates and who sustains the whole universe. Whatever he is doing, making trees grow, making the earth move, making the sun move, causing tides in the ocean. So anything that Ishvara can do, almost, this person who has that siddhi can do. He has very good control over all the forces of nature. That is Ishitva. Then Vashitva. Vashitva is you gain control over other people's minds. That means you can control some other human being's mind, another animal's mind. So that is Vashitva. So these are the Ashtasiddhis. Even if you analyze them, we will see they're all at the level of body, mind, intellect, BMI. They seem like miracles. They're extremely impressive when they happen in front of you. The person who has any of these siddhis becomes powerful. But they're all at the level of body, mind, and intellect. And anybody who has these siddhis and exercises them, most of them are, they've been able to access the supernatural powers of the mind. As the mind becomes pure and focused, we are able to access these siddhis. But anyone who gets attached to the siddhis and who stays at the level of the siddhis, enjoying that power, enjoying the glory, enjoying the fame, name, etc., that person still has an ego. He's still attached to the body, mind, and intellect. He can still get hurt. He can still suffer. And these siddhis are not a permanent answer to his dukkha. The dukkha that is coming from a sense of incompleteness, from a sense of being limited within this body, mind, and intellect. So that suffering does not go away. So this is what Krishna is saying. This is what Bhagavan is saying. So what have other masters said about this? There was this, there were two Sufi sadhaks, okay, Rubia and Hassan. So they had learned certain meditation techniques from their masters, and they had gained some siddhis, some of these Ashtasiddhis. So Hassan wanted to show off his siddhi to Rubia. So he said, Rubia, come, let's go and do some sadhana, let's meditate. And then he threw his meditation mat onto a lake, and then he went and sat floating on the water. Rubia said, Arey, why do you want to sit on water? Yeah? And then she threw her prayer mat into the air. It started floating there. She flew up and sat on the mat in space. Then she said, you know what, Hassan? What you can do, the fish can do. What I can do, even a common fly can do. So why are we wasting time doing all these things? Let's get down to the real business of understanding our true nature. So this was a dialogue between two Sufi students who had acquired some siddhis. Okay. So this story, the second story now that I'm going to share, another example, most of us could have heard of. Actually, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa also has narrated this story to one of his disciples. So there was a Jnani standing on the bank of a river, and he was waiting for a boatman, the boat to come and ferry him across to the other bank. The boat was still taking some other people, and he was standing on the shore and waiting. Then he saw a yogi coming from the opposite bank. He is very casually just walking on the water, and he came and reached this bank where the Jnani was standing. So then the Jnani said, Jnani didn't say anything. The yogi did namaste, and the Jnani responded. The Jnani didn't say anything to the yogi. So after waiting for a few minutes, the yogi said, you're still waiting for the boat, is it? Oh, okay. Did you see me? I came from that bank. Did you see how I walked on the water and came? Huh? I said, yeah, I saw you. The yogi said, I did 25 years of tapasya. 25 years. See, now you are still waiting for the boat, but I am already where I want to be. Yeah, he said, very good. But you want to know my real take on this? You could have saved 25 years and by spending 25 paise. When the boatman comes, I will pay 25 paise and I will go across. But you have wasted 25 years to gain this siddhi. Are you happy all the time? Are you at peace? This is what he asked the yogi. Okay. Then we come to the last story about miracles that we are going to look at today. Story, okay? We are not done with the talk. The session goes on. There may be other stories later. This particular story about miracles, this will be the last one. So, this is a story about Bhagwan Buddha. Bhagwan Buddha's teachings of the 4 great truths and the 8 ways in which to live your life, all that was well received by so many thousands of bhikkhus. So as they meditated, because their minds became pure, their vasana started reducing, and there was sharp focus. So these siddhis would sometimes surface. Then Bhagwan Buddha had told all of them, don't pay any importance to siddhis. Don't display your siddhis. Don't go on cultivating those siddhis. Let them come, let them be there, or let them not be there. You don't use them, you don't display them, don't give any attention to them. This was his instruction. So there was one Shishya called Pindola. Pindola had been following meditation techniques of Bhagwan Buddha. He was a monk and he had gained many siddhis. But instead of ignoring them, he had started displaying them. He had become fascinated by them. And he always felt, why is our master not allowing us to display our siddhis in front of others? We could impress so many people. We could bring more and more disciples to the master. Excuse me. So this is what Pindola said. He said this to many of the senior disciples, but everybody was telling him the same thing. Don't get distracted from your true purpose of understanding your nature from nirvana. So one day, the king in a certain kingdom, he had also heard many monks have these siddhis. So he wanted to see a public display. So he got a big bowl, a huge sandalwood bowl. It's we know how expensive sandalwood is, right? So he got it carved, very intricate, beautiful carving on that bowl. He got a tall pole, a 50-foot long tall pole, like as tall as a 5-storied building. And he mounted this bowl on the top. And he sent around a person to proclaim, anybody who displays the power, who can float up and take that bowl and come back down, our king will gift that bowl to that person. That bowl is worth lakhs of rupees. So he will gift that bowl to anyone who displays such a miraculous power. Now, Pindola knew that many monks had siddhis. So he waited. It is not nice when senior monks have powers, but they don't, before they display, if I display, it may not be the right thing to do. So everybody is going around begging food. The monks are going about the town. They hear the proclamation, they see the bowl. Nobody is doing anything. They're just ignoring it and going about their business. So then finally Pindola decides. He says, I will now fly up and bring down that bowl. Everybody watch me. So a big crowd gathers, and in front of all of them, Pindola has levitated, he has floated up. And he's not just satisfied with going and bringing the bowl down. He wants to show off his skill. So he's just standing there in the air, floating over there. He does antics, doing this, doing that. And then finally, he lifts the bowl and he brings it down. Of course, everybody applauds, everybody cheers, people praise him. But what happens? The senior monks who have watched this, they tell Pindola, you should not have done this, brother. It is not a good thing. And the news of what had happened reached the ears of Bhagwan Buddha also. So then Buddha called Pindola. He called the congregation of all the bhikkhus who were there in that particular place. And then he said, what was done was not done well. We who are on the path to nirvana, who are seeking the truth, who are begging, who receive alms from householders who work so hard to feed their own families, still they're also feeding us. They're donating to our Sangha. Why? Because we have pledged ourselves to the path of self-realization. That is why they're doing all this for us. It is not right that we should deviate from the path like this. It is not right that we give people wrong ideas. People will think such miracles are the greatest thing. But it is peace unsurpassing which is the greatest thing. It is the bliss that you are that is the greatest thing. Such miracles are like, they're so paltry. They're like pieces of glass when compared to the Kohinoor diamond. So we should not give them a wrong idea about what spirituality is. What was done today was not done well, he said. So he told Pindola, don't do it again. Not only that, in your own mind, don't be so fascinated by these powers. Let them go. They're of no use to you. They will only distract you. You focus on your path. Go on to the greatest miracle. It is still waiting for you. Then he takes the bowl. He asks Pindola to give him the bowl. He takes the bowl and he says, break the bowl, grind the bowl, powder it, and use that powdered sandalwood to make medicines for any monk who may be sick, for any person in this city who may be sick use it for medicines. So this is what the great ones who have become established in the self, who have understood that bliss that comes from this kind of self-abidance is the greatest bliss. Nothing else can compare to that. So this is what they are telling us, right? So what does Bhagavan say in the shloka 36? Let us chant the shloka. Soham vicharo vapuratma bhave soham vicharo vapuratma bhave sahayakari parimarganasya sahayakari parimarganasya swatmaikya siddhau sapunarnirarthah स्वात्मैक्य सिद्धौ स पुनर्निरर्थः यथा नरत्व परमिति नरस्य यथा नरत्व प्रमिति नरस्य. Soham, so vapuhu atma bhave. Vapu is the body. Vapuhu atma bhave, I am the body. That belief, that concept, that thought, as long as I am caught or I am deluded by that belief, I am the body, vapuratma bhave, so aham vicharaha, I am he or I am that. That vicharaha, that thought, that understanding, sahayakari, it is helpful. Till what stage? As long as I am deeply deluded that I am the body, then to nudge me out of that belief. This understanding given by the Sadguru, given by the scriptures, you are not the body, you are the self. That understanding is deeply helpful as long as I believe I am the body. They are helpful for what? Parimarganasya, to take me to the quest, to the inquiry, to the stage of self-inquiry. Who am I? What is my true nature? So to take me to that, to nudge me towards that self-inquiry, it is deeply helpful. Yes. Swatmaikya siddhau saha punar nirarthaha. But for one who is already established in the self, he knows, he has understood, he is convinced. He never for a second forgets his true nature. He cannot forget because he is established there. For such a person to go on and on meditating, I am not the body, I am the self, to go on meditating on that, nirarthaha. Punaha, again and again, nirarthaha, it is meaningless. Yatha naratva pramitihi narasya. It is like a man going on saying again and again, I am a man, I am a man, I am a man, I am a man, so that he can remember it. Is it required? Don't we always remember I am a man, I am a woman in our waking hours? So is it required for me to go on saying it to myself, reminding myself again and again of something about which I have no doubt at all? Which is always there in my subconscious mind at any point of time. So Bhagavan says, we will read Ganapati Muni's translation, as long as we have the idea that the body is the self, the thought, I am that, is helpful in seeking it. But when one is that, it is as futile as a man repeating, I am a man. I am a man. And Lakshman Sharma says, as long as the notion I am the body prevails, the meditation, I am not this, I am the self, is helpful in gaining self-awareness to the quest. But why should this meditation be kept up endlessly? Does any man meditate, I am a man? We are always that very reality. Just a few sessions ago, maybe last session or session before that, also Bhagavan had said, when you are already the self, why are you hesitating to dive into self-inquiry? Now Bhagavan is saying, you are the self, so what is the big deal about it? Why are you making a big song and dance about it? Why make so much fuss about it? You are the self, accept it, finish, it's over. Why do you have to go on repeating, I am the self, I am the self, I am not the body? Right? It's meaningless. Be done with it. You are the self, yes. What's the big deal about it? So Avadhuta Gita says in the chapter 1, Ahamevamidam sarvam vyomatitam nirantaram pashyami katham atmanam pratyaksham vatirohitam. So I, the only one, aham evam idam. I, the one only, am all this. In the Avadhuta Gita, chapter 1, we read this. I, the one only, am all this. All this, whatever is all around us, the world. Vyomatitam, beyond space. Nirantaram, continuous, no breaks. Everywhere it is, I alone am there. Then how can I see the self either as a visible or hidden entity? When I am the self, is it possible for me to see the self? This is what Avadhuta Gita is asking. Pashyami katham, what can I see? Atmanam pratyaksham va tirohitam. Either pratyaksham, through my senses, can I see? Or tirohitam, even hidden. Can I grasp? Without looking in the mirror, can I see my own reflection? Right? When I alone am, who will see whom? There are no two entities, one to see the other. That is what Avadhuta Gita is saying. I am present everywhere. I am beyond space. I am beyond time. So, how can I see myself? Then, in the 31st shloka, same Avadhuta Gita, we say, Ghate bhinne ghatakasham sulinam vedavarjitam Shivena manasa shuddho na bhedah pratibhati me. Ghate bhinne ghatakasham. When the pot is broken, bhinne, it is broken. Ghata is the pot. When the pot is broken, the space within seems to get absorbed into the infinite space outside, which becomes one. So in the same way, when the mind becomes pure, I do not perceive any difference between the mind and the Supreme Being. So just like the individual pot space is not different from the infinite space around it, here in Avadhuta Gita, a pure mind, the mind without any content or contamination, is not different from the self. That is what is being told to us. So in Shloka 32, we read, न घटो न घटाकाशो न जीवो न जीव विग्रहः केवलं ब्रह्म संविद्धि वेद वेदकवर्जितम् वेद वेदकवर्जितम्. So, na ghato, next step. There is no pot. There is no pot. When there is no pot, there can be no interior space of the pot. There is no jiva or individual soul, and its form is also not there. Know the absolute Brahman devoid of the knowable and the knower. There is only one. So it is like beginning we began. What did we say? When I wake up from the dream where my birthday party is going on, before I can take the first bite of my favorite cake. When I wake up, what is there? No cake, no eater of the cake, no giver of the cake. My friends, nothing is there. In the dream, the cake was there, the plate was there, the person to eat the cake was there, everything was there. But when I woke up, there was no cake also, there was no eater of the cake also. So that is what the Advaita Gita says. Wake up to your true nature. When you wake up to your true nature, you will realize there is no body, there is no mind, there is no jiva, there is no form for the jiva, there is nothing other than the absolute, and you are the absolute. There is nobody to see anyone else, there is only one, there is no other. That is why we say Advaita. So that is what Bhagavan was also telling Madhava Tirtha. He said, you are talking about surrender. Where are there two? Where is there God and you? Right? Either there is only God and you are God, or there is only you are the self. Whatever is your orientation, there is only one entity. There is only awareness, nothing beyond that. So that is what even the Avadhuta Gita is telling us. So the disciples' question, this is a story with a twist. You may think you know this story. I hope you don't know this story, but I'm sure all of you will know one version of this story. I'm going to tell you the same story with a little bit of a twist. Okay. So there was this great Zen master, Nan-in. His name was Nan-in. He was extremely famous, and he had a big monastery, many disciples. So one day, one new disciple, he had heard so much about this great Zen master Nan-in, and he wanted to become his disciple. So he came and he joined the monastery. 1 week is over, 2 weeks are over. What do we do when we find somebody very interesting, very inspiring? We keep watching that person, right? What will this person do now? How will he eat? Will he get angry if somebody insults him? Sorry, I have a hoarse throat, cough, cold, and also in between I need a few sips of water. Okay? So this new disciple is watching the Zen master. Okay, how does he eat? Then how patient is he in answering questions? If he is enlightened, he should not be getting angry. Is he getting angry? He is observing every day. And then he has come to learn meditation from this master. So he asks all his disciples, at what time does our master meditate? They say, we don't know. We have never seen him meditating. Brother, we don't know. Really? But he's the greatest master. That's what everyone says. So this disciple gets up early in the morning. The master is in the kitchen. He's supervising, cooking. He's doing something. Then he keeps watching him round the clock. The master is always engaged in some activity, or he's teaching disciples, or he's writing a book, or something or the other. But he doesn't see him meditating at all. So one day he gets into a state of conflict. Did I do the right thing in joining this monastery? Or should I go somewhere else? Will I get the right teaching here or not? This master who never seems to meditate, how can he teach me meditation? Valid questions, right? All these questions are going around in his mind. Then finally he comes to a decision. He says, all right, I will seek out this master, and my master, I will ask him this question directly and get an answer. So when the master is going for his morning walk, Nanin is going for a walk, the disciple also tags along and he says, Master, I want to ask you a question. So the master says, yes, ask. Master, why is it that you never meditate? The master smiles and he says, I will answer your question. Okay? I will certainly answer your question. But first, I will invite you to take some tea with me. And over tea, we will discuss. So the disciple is very happy. He goes into the monastery with the master. The master makes the tea. Zen art of making tea takes its own time, right? So he makes the tea. He puts it in a kettle, and then he places a cup and saucer in front of the disciple, and he starts pouring tea into the cup. So the cup is half full, now the cup is 3/4 full, now the cup is completely full, keeps on pouring. What happens? It overflows, it is falling into the saucer. Then the disciple says, Master, stop! Master stops and he says, why? Master, the cup is already full, but you're continuing to pour. Now it is overflowing and falling outside. What's the use? The master laughs and he says, you know, I'm already full. I'm complete. I have understood my true nature. Why do I need to meditate anymore? It is meaningless for me. It is needed for you. You are also the self, but you still have not recognized your true nature. But I abide in that awareness always. What is the use of meditation for such a one who is already complete and who needs nothing else to complete him or her? So this is what the Zen master tells the disciple. So let us also close our eyes for a couple of minutes. Close your eyes. The greatest miracle is to abide as the self. Just watch your breath. Breathe in deeply. Deep, slow inhalation. Slow exhalation. You have all the time in the world, no hurry. Slowly breathe in, slowly breathe out. Very effortlessly watch the breathing as it happens. As you breathe in, there is a natural pause at the end. Watch the pause. As you breathe out, again there is a natural pause at the end. Just watch the pause. Feel your mind becoming peaceful and quiet as you watch your breathing. When your mind is peaceful and quiet, just shift your attention from your breathing to the one who is aware of the breath. If you want, you can ask just one single time the question in your mind, who is aware of this breathing? Breathing goes on. Awareness of the breathing may still be there, but now you are consciously identified with the witness of the breath. As the witness, allow the breathing to go on. If thoughts come, let them come. If thoughts go, let them go. It makes no difference to the witness. I am not the thought. I am only the observer of the thought. I am not even silence. I am the one who is aware of the silence. Just stay there. If you slip from that state of being a Sakshi, as soon as you become aware, go back by asking who is aware of this thought. Go back to witnessing. Let us just stay there for a minute. I am the witness. Nothing can disturb the peace that I am. Nothing can dilute the bliss that I am. Let us offer our gratitude and pranams at the lotus feet of Bhagwan, Sri Ramana Maharshi, for his amazing wisdom. May the grace of Bhagwan and all the Sadgurus establish us in the self. Taking your own time, slowly open your eyes. I thank each and every one of you for your wonderful exploration of these two shlokas with me.